एक ओंकार सतनाम करता पुरख निरभओ निर्वैर अकाल मूर्त अजूनी सैभंग गुर प्रसाद जप आद सच जुगाद सच है भी सच नानक होसी भी सच. We now start the ninth Ashtpadi, the ninth octet of Sukhmani Sahibji. उड़दारे जो अंतर नाम सरब में पेपखे भगवान निमक निमक ठाकुर नमस्कारे नानक ओ अपरस सगल निस्तारे. This is the Slok. What the Slok means? Urdare jo antar naam. He who always keeps the name of God in his mind. Sarab mein pekhe bhagwan. He who sees God pervading in all things. He who sees God in everything. Everything is a replication. Everything is a reflection of God. सब गोविंद है, सब गोविंद है, सब गोविंद है. निमक निमक ठाकुर नमस्कारे नानक ओ अपरस सगल निस्तारे. And every moment, nimak nimak, every moment he bows to the Almighty. And he is the true aparas. Aparas means a person who believes that the Almighty is untouchable. A person who believes that he cannot be touched. He means God cannot be touched. Aparas. Paras means touchability. And aparas means one who cannot be touched. Meaning a person, such a person who bows to God every moment, who remembers God every moment, he is a true aparas himself. He is the person who is as pure as the aparas Almighty. That is what aparas means over here. Ashtpadi. Mithya nahi rasna paras, manmay preeti niranjan dras. Mithya nahi rasna paras, manmay preeti niranjan dras. He whose tongue does not touch any kind of falsehood. One person who does not speak falsehood. One person who does not speak lies. Man mein priti niranjan daras. And he who has the love for the Almighty, the yearning for the Almighty, and he who seeks and is shining, effulgent, or one who is merged with the effulgence and the shining aspect, the ever shining aspect of the Almighty. Partri roop na pekhe netra saad ki tehel sant sanghete. One who does not get enamored, lured, or does not get attracted towards the beauty of other women. When a person tastes Amrit, when he does Amrit Pan, when he does Amrit Sanchar of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, one of the Rahatnamas is that the person will not eye an other person's wife, or will not eye person who is not lawfully wedded to him or her. So such a person is not lusty, such a person is not driven by lure of the opposite gender. Saad ki tehel sansang hete, and he always is in association of holy men, of people who are devotees, and in association and in service of saints. Karna sune kahu ke ninda, sabte jane apas ko manda. He who does not listen to the slander of other people, he who is not interested in knowing about the bad characteristics and the bad aspects of other people. Sabte jane apas ko manda. He who himself believes that he is the person who is requiring a lot of correction. He is a person who is meek. He is a person who is the dust feet of Almighty. Farida kale mede kapde, kala meda ves, guneha parya mefra, lok kahe darvesh. This also comes in Gurbaani. It means, and the gist of it is the same. Such a person never regards himself as a very person who's having a lot of virtues. He is very, very modest. Gur Prasad Bikhya par hare, man ki basna man te tare. He is such a person who, with the grace of the Almighty, abandons the proposition of illusion, abandons the proposition of material aspects. मन की वासना मन ते टरे, and he who has control on his desires. मन की वासना, desire can be desire for women, desire for wealth, desire for acquisition, desire for victory, and in women it could be desire for other men or desire for avarice, desire in the nature of competing behavior with other women. Such a person, whether man or woman, who has control on his desires, who has controlled the desires to such an extent that desires almost seem to vanish from him. इंद्री जित पंच दोगते रहते, नानक कोट मदे को ऐसा अप्रस. One who feels that the five aspects, काम क्रोध लोभ मोह अहंकार, and the indriyas through which they can be sensed, the ears, the nose, the eyes, the mouth, and all the sensory organs of the body, okay, all the indriyas, all the aspects which could be vulnerable to attraction, they are all under control. Nanak कोट मदे को ऐसा अपरस. Such a person is a true aparas. Such a person who has control on all his indriyas is a person who is as good as the untouchable Almighty, and he acquires the true qualities of the Almighty. He becomes the true aparas. Vaisno sojas upra suprasan, bisan ki maya te hoy bin. He upon whom the Lord Almighty showers his grace is the true person, is the true devotee of the Almighty. Here Vaishno, though referring to the name of God assigned by Hindus as Vishnu, here Vaishno means Vaiguruji, the Almighty. He who upon whom the Almighty showers his blessing is the true devotee of the Almighty. Bisan ki maya te hoye bhinne, and he is immune from the influences of Maya. He is immune. He is not at all lured. He is not at all affected by the delusion of various kinds of attraction. Karam karat hoye ne karmitis vaisno ka nirmal dharma. He who performs all the good deeds without any desire to get any reward, who does nishkam seva, seva karat hoine kami tisko hod parapat swami. Another couplet from the Sukhmani Sahib, from the Sree Guru Granth Sahib. It means that a person has to work without any kind of expectation. In Bhagavad Gita we have the line karmanyeva dhikarisya ma phaleshu kadachana, meaning you have to do your karma without any aspiration of any reward. Such a person, this vaisno ka nirmal dharma, such a devotee and such an act of the devotee is the proper sign of a true spiritualist. This vaisno ka nirmal dharma, his ways are gentle and his ways are subtle. काऊ फल की इच्छा नहीं बाचे, केवल भक्त कीर्तन संग्राचे. This is again a repetition of निष्काम सेवा. काहू फल की इच्छा नहीं बाचे. There is no desire for having any fruit. सेवा करत होय नेकामी. कर्मण्येवातिकारस्य मा फलेषु kadachana. Shri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says, Ma faleshu kadachana. No, don't aspire for any kind of fruit when you are doing any kind of seva. Keval bhakta kirtan sangrache. Always such a person stays immersed in the name of God, immersed in kirtan, immersed in bhakti, and immersed in devotion. Mantan antar simran gopal, sab upar hovat kripal. He who contemplates the name of God with a lot of love, affection and devotion in his mind as well as in his body. Tan man dhan, the nishkam seva jisnu kehande ne. Tan man dhan, by body, by mind as well as by the donation. Sab upar hovat kripal. He acquires the quality of being Rahman. Rahman in Quran means a person who has a lot of compassion, a person who is dayalu. Daya is the Hindi word. Such a person is always merciful to others. He acquires that quality of God. Ya Ali, Ya Rahman, Ya Ali or Ya Rahman. This is the Quran's word. The Lord Almighty is merciful. The Lord Almighty is Rahman. The Lord Almighty is Kripalu. The Lord Almighty is Dayalu. आप दृढ़े अवरा नाम जपावे नानक ओ बैसनो परम गत पावे. He is such a person. The true devotee is such a person who not only remembers and contemplates God himself, but he ensures that others also attain God or strive to attain God, and he strives to achieve the objective that others also remember and try to attain the Almighty by inspiring them to contemplate the name of God. आप दृढ़े अवरा नाम जपावे. आप दृढ़े meaning a person who himself is contemplating God and making others also contemplate God. Nanak o Vaishnav param gat pave. He is the true devotee, a true bhagat. He who is such a person that by way of doing this kind of a service, by distribution of the name of God, he attains spiritual bliss, and that spiritual bliss and that spiritual status slowly and steadily goes on to such a nature that he attains salvation. Bhagavati Bhagwant Bhagat Karang. Bhagavati Bhagwant Bhagat Karang. He is that kind of a devotee. The true seeker, the true devotee is that kind of a devotee. Bhagavati means worshipper of the Almighty. He who loves God and who remains subdued, remains camouflaged in the color, in the simran and in the ambience of the Almighty. Sagal tyage dushat ka sang. And such a person tries to stay away from the band, from the gang, and from the association of sinners, from the association of atheists, from the association of non-believers. Mante binse sagla bharma kar puje sagal par brahma. He who removes any kinds of misconceptions, he means the devotee. He is a true devotee who removes any kinds of misconceptions of the duality of God. God is one. एक ओंकार सतनाम कर्ता पुरख निर्भव निर्वैर अकाल मूर्त अजूनी साहिबं गुर प्रसाद जप आद सच जुगाद सच है सच नानक हो सिब सच. The duality which exists in the name of God, which has been created by man, a true devotee knows that God is one. Sargun nirgun nirankar sun samadhi aap apan kiya nanka ape pirjap. Sargun roop is the roop in the form, and Nirgun Roop is the Niroop of the Nirankar. Sargun, Nirgun, both are Roops of the Almighty, but God essentially is one. God essentially is Nirankar, but God can take Akar. But the fact that it has taken Akar does not take away its basic character of being Nirankar, being Allah, being unseen, being aparas. Alright. Mante binse sagla bharm, which means that any kinds of whims about the characteristics of God are wiped out from the mind of such a true devotee. Kar puje sagal par brahm. And for such a person, he worships the Almighty and sees Him everywhere, in every place, in every aspect, in his bedroom, in his washroom, in his hall, in the streets, in the garden, in the mountains, in the rivers, in the food that he has, in the animals that he sees, in the air that he breathes, and he knows that everything is nothing but a speck, but a resemblance, but a reflection of the self-illuminating God in various forms. And that is how a devotee sees that the unseen God, which can be seen in so many forms, is nothing but that same unseen God which is pervading everywhere and in every breath and in every aspect and in everything that he does, he finds the will of God. सात संग पापा मल खोवे तिस भगवती की मत उत्तम होवे. He who strives to achieve the Almighty by associating with true saints and by discarding the sins. सात संग पापा मल खोवे तिस भगवती की मत उत्तम होवे. And such a devotee has the supreme wisdom and the supreme ability of attaining divine wisdom, and he does attain it slowly and steadily with regular practice. भगवंत की टहल करे नित नीत मन तन अर्पे बिसन प्रीत. He always serves, worships and remains a follower of the Almighty. Bhagavant ki tahal kare nit neet. In every aspect of his, in every move of his, will be the association. Nit neet. Nit, every neet. Neet is every practice, every way, every way of life. Bhagavant ki tahal kare nit neet. He remains in accompaniment of the Almighty in practically almost everything that he does. Mantan arpe bisan parite. He dedicates himself, man, by mind, by spirit, by body, by wealth, and everything of his is in service of the Almighty. हर के चरण हृदय बसावे नानक ऐसा भगवती भगवंत को पावे. He always keeps the lotus feet of the Almighty in his senses, in his contemplation. So what happens is, when such a person seeks the Almighty, he seeks the true Guru, because Guru also is a replica of the Almighty. Guru Gobind Gobind Guru hai Nanak Priyatna Bai. Once the lotus feet of the Almighty or of the true Guru is in the mind of God, is in the mind of such a devotee, हर के चरण हृदय बसावे नानक ऐसा भगवती भगवंत को पावे. Then such a true devotee attains God, because with such a true devotee, the Lord Almighty himself comes forward to take him. चरण शरण गुरु एक पैंडा जाय चल सतगुरु कोट पैंडा अगे होए लेतने. This is again a line from the Sree Guru Granth Sahib. And with such a person who seeks the Almighty himself comes forward at a much faster pace to ensure that the devotee finds him and becomes one with the Almighty. He becomes one, he becomes aparas, he becomes as good as one with the Almighty. So Pandit jo man par bodhe, Ram naam atam mein sodhe. He who awakens his mind, his chetna, his consciousness. What is the difference between us and the animals? Animals also are the form of the Almighty. Shri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says, "Ki all are within him, but he is not in everyone." He refers to the consciousness, the chetna. The chetna is there. The chetna is there in a human form, which is the highest form of consciousness which is there in living beings. सब में ज्योति ज्योत है स्वे तिस दे चानन सब में चानन होए. Everybody has the speck of God, but God does not awaken in everybody because of lack of consciousness. Even in trees, there is the Almighty. Animals, there is Almighty. Mountains, there is Almighty. But consciousness is given to the human being to attain the Almighty. It is not given to other beings. Bhai parapat manuk de huriya gobind milan ki e teri bariya avar kaaj tere kite na kaam mil saath sangat baj keval naam saran jam lag bhav jal taran ke janam birtha jat rang maya ke rahao jab tab sanjam dharam na kam aya seva साध न जण्या हरि राया कहो नानक हम नीच कर्मा शरण परे की राखो शरणा. It just comes in Rera Sahib, Pancham Patshahi's words again, that this Almighty, the Almighty has given you the human form to attain the name of God. And if you don't do jap tap, if you don't do the necessary practices, you will never attain God. This comes, and this line is nothing but a one-line way. So Pandit jo man par bodhe, Ram naam atam mein sode. And where can we find this God? We can find God within ourselves. We don't need to go to Tirath Sthans, to pilgrimages. The God himself is within you. Tirath Ishnana naal रब कोलो बंदा थोड़े नेड़े पहुंच सकता है, पर वो एसेंशियल नहीं होंगे ने, वो अनिवार्य नहीं ने, वो आवश्यक नहीं ने. आप जी अपने आप ਦੇ ਅੰਤਰ ਧਿਆਨ ਲਗਾ ਕੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਭਗਵਾਨ ਨੂੰ ਖੋਜਦਾ ਹੈ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪਰਮੇਸ਼ਵਰ ਨੂੰ ਖੋਜਦਾ ਹੈ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਨੂੰ ਖੋਜਦਾ ਹੈ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਨੂੰ ਖੋਜਦਾ ਹੈ, ਆਪ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਸਭ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਮਾਨ ਨੇ. ਆਪ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਮਾਏ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ. The Almighty is within everybody, and by way of awakening of consciousness one can attain the Almighty. राम नाम सार रस पीवे उस पंडित के उपदेश जग जीवे. The person who drinks the sweet juice of the name of God. राम नाम सार रस पीवे. अमृत की सार सोई जाने जे अमृत का व्यापारी जो. गुरु गोबिंद सिंह महाराज ਦੇ वचन ने कि अमृत ਦਾ ਮਹੱਤਮ, अमृत ਦੀ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਸ, अमृत ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ फल है वो कितना मीठा है. अमृत मतलब एक अमृत होंदा है, असी अजे अमृत छकने आ. The amrit that we have, that amrit that we take while being baptized as a khalsa, one is that amrit which makes you disciplined, and the real amrit is the amrit of the name of God, the amrit which has been taken while contemplating the name of God. That amrit is so sweet, and that khumari, that intoxication, that divine intoxication is realized only by the true devotee. उस पंडित के उपदेश जग जीवे. And a person who realizes that amrit, he transmits that experience, he distributes that experience, he propagates that experience to the others. And such a pandit, such a vidwan, such a true spiritualist is a source of guidance to even others. हर की कथा हृदय बसावे सो पंडित फिर जोने न आवे. He who keeps the divine instructions, हर की कथा, by way of katha, kirtan, by way of everyday practice, one who becomes within the disciplinary fold of the Almighty, and who makes the Almighty's name dwell in his heart, such a person at the time of death, when he is about to die, he always has the name of God in his mind. And Gurbaani says, as well as Bhagavad Gita, as well as the Quran, as well as Christ, the Christian authorities also say the state of the mind at the time of the death is what determines the next birth. अंतकाल जो माया सिमरे ऐसी चिंता में मरे सर्प जो नहीं पाए. अंतकाल जो स्त्री सिमरे. Bhagat Trilochan's words at Safa at Ang 526 of Sree Guru Granth Sahib. A person who is so imbued, a person who is so glued with the name of God that when death strikes him, he is still contemplating God, and that is how he attains moksha, he attains mukti. That is how he attains salvation, by becoming one with God at the time of death, which takes care of his end of the cycle of deaths and births. वेद पुराण समृत बोझे मूल सुखम में जाने अस्तूल. He who understands the true origin of God, one who contemplates the name of God, one who goes inside, one who dwells within himself the name of the Almighty, he automatically realizes the truth. That truth which can be read amongst the Hindu Vedas, the Puranas, the Smritis, the Quran, the Bible, so many other texts, the Zen Avesta, and you ask any kind of text which will give the common answer. I will give you my personal experience. I was just matter out of my research. I was reading the Shiv Puran, and when I was going through the verses of Shiv Puran, they quite resembled the Japji Sahib. They quite resembled the Updesh, the sermons given by Sree Guru Granth Sahib, to such an extent that I found that a large part of Shiv Puran is nothing but it is already found in Sree Guru Granth Sahib. And Sree Guru Granth Sahib contemplates on the name of God, emphasizing on Nam Simran, emphasizing on the contemplation of God. And when that by contemplation itself you can achieve it, then the reading of texts will only be a formality. In fact, it will not be required. In fact, people who read become so learned that they feel and they become egoistic, and with ego they go away from the Almighty. Ved Puran Simrat Buje Mule Sukham Me Jane aur Sthule. Sukham Me Jane aur Sthule means he who realizes that the visible world exists is supported by the invisible being. The visible world, as I said, Sargun Nirgun Nirinkar Sun Samadhi Aap. The Almighty is himself untouchable. The Almighty cannot be touched. But he has such a power that he can create this whole creation. The Shakti of the Almighty is such that with that cosmic power, the entire creation is created. And in his creation, you can see the Almighty himself. Chauvarna ko de updese nanak us pandit ko sada adese. He who gives divine instructions to all the four castes. A person, a learned person, a spiritualist does not distinguish between the castes. When Guru Gobind Singh Ji made the Khalsa, he gave an ordinance that from that day onwards, Sikhs would be regarded as Sikhs and would not be divided into Brahmin, Sudra, Kshatriya, and all the castes and subcastes in which Hinduism or even Islam was divided into. Okay, so a person who is divine always gives his instructions equally to all the castes. He does not distinguish. Nanak us pandit ko sada adese. And such a person attains respect in the society. All the people respect him, and such a person is respected even in the dargah. In dargah means in the cosmos, in the holy cosmos of the Almighty, which is different from material cosmos. बीज मंत्र सबको ज्ञान चौवर नाम में जपे को नाम. The name of God is the fundamental spell and imparts divine knowledge to all. Beej mantra sabko gyan. The name of God, by whatever name you call it, whether in Quran you say Ashadullah ilahi illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, whether in Sikhism you say Ekonkar Satnam Karta Purakh Nirpav Nirvair Akal Murt Ajuni Sahib Ankur Prasad Jap Aad Sach Jugaad Sach Hai Bhi Sach Nanak Hosi Bhi Sach. Whether in Hinduism you say Om Bhurbu Asvah Tat Savitur Varenyam Bargo Devasvahi Dehva Dhiyo Yona Prachodhyat. Whether in Christianity you say Alleluia, 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 or you sing any of the hymns, the Christian hymns, or whether you take a rosary in your hand and you repeat certain lines from the Bible, or you do a tasbih and repeat some lines from the Quran, or you take a mala and you repeat some bani repeatedly again and again, like we have the Radha Swami Satsang Vyas and various other, where some true saints. And whether you just say Ram Ram or Allah, koi bole Ram Ram, koi khudai, koi seve kosaiya, koi alai, by whichever name, by whichever mool name you remember the Almighty, Chaurna me jape ko naam, any of the castes, though it is here, it's the Chauvarna, because in Hinduism we had 4 castes. Okay, so Any caste, subcaste, a person who takes the name of the Almighty realizes himself, realizes the Almighty in the Chetna, in the consciousness. He becomes aparas. He becomes one with God. Chauvarna बीज मंत्र सबको ज्ञान चौवर्णा में जपे को नाम. Any person who takes the name of God in any form will attain the Almighty if the contemplation is done in a proper way. जो जो जपे तिसकी गत होए साध संग पावे जन कोय. This is what exactly I said, that whoever repeats the name of God always attains salvation, because at the time of death he will remember the name of God. साध संग पावे जन कोय. Those people who repeat the name of God, they become so one with God that they start association themselves with like-minded people. And amongst the like-minded people, they even get saints. And they are the fortunate few who get associated with the saints also. And saints help people to attain the name of attain salvation. Sant का मार्ग धर्म की पौड़ी को वड पागी पावे. कोट जन्म के किल विकना से हर चरणी चितलावे. कर कृपा अंतर उतारे पशु प्रेत मुगद पाथर को तारे. By the Almighty's grace, when the name starts dwelling within the heart, then even people who are brutes, people who are forms like roaming spirits, Murak, the people who are born with idiosyncrasies, inherited problems, bad character, and those people who are stone-hearted, even they are improved. Nanak nirgun gun kare gunvantiya gun de. Even they stand improved and they strive and become closer and closer to the Almighty. And finally, maybe not in this birth, in the next birth, when they start reaping the benefits of the Naam Simran in the next birth, slowly and steadily they will attain the name of God. Maybe not today, maybe later, maybe not in this life, maybe in the further life. So the spiritual advancement of the living being stands enhanced, it stands accelerated. सर्व रोग का औखद नाम कल्याण रूप मंगल गुणगाम. The name of God, the Naam Simran. Naam Simran again can be by way of saying a name like Ram or Allah or God, or by saying a particular prayer, a short prayer or a two-line prayer, or a Shabad or a mantra, or it can be even by just contemplating with your breath like they do it in Buddhism. Okay, Sarv Roka Okhad Naam, and that Simran, that contemplation is the medicine for all evils. Okay, Kalyan Roop Mangal Gungam, and in this way, by singing the praises of the Almighty, by contemplating, people attain spiritual fortune, people attain spiritual bliss, and they enjoy the spiritual bliss. And the bliss which can be attained in heavens is available with the person who is achieving this state slowly and steadily. काहू जुक्ति किते न पाए धर्म नानक तिस मिलिए जिस लिखा तुर कर्म. The name of the Almighty cannot be obtained in any way by doing havan. All right, little bit of an effect will be there. The deity or the Devi Devta or a purpose for which you are doing it, that could be solved. Rituals and ceremonies, and merely by going to pilgrimage places, one cannot achieve spirituality. Kahu jukti kitte na paiye dharma. With such kind of karm kand, with some kind of ritualistic behavior, one does not attain God. Nanak tas miliye jis likhya turi karm. And those people who are fortunate, who have it in their destiny, who have it in their reaped as a matter of their past birth karma or this birth's karma or the blessing, only those few people attain this kind of a destiny and spiritual path. Sant ka marg dharam ki paudi ko vadbagi pave. Those people are few who attain this marg. Those people are rare. They are blessed few who attain this. I am not saying that they cannot. With regular practice, even they can attain it. Bin bhaga sat sang na labhe. Without the blessing of the Almighty, a person doesn't tread the association of devotees and he doesn't attain God. So our prayer always should be to the Almighty to give us that kind of a wisdom, that kind of a blessing, that we remain touched with the Almighty. जिसके मन पार ब्रह्म का निवास तिसका नाम सतराम दास. In whose heart dwells the true name of God, he who contemplates on the true name of God is called the true servant of God. Sat Ram Das, he is the true servant. Ram meaning God, Das meaning servant. Atam Ram tis nadri aya, Das dasantan payat nipaya. He realizes that the all-providing God is present everywhere. He is God who is supreme and who is omniscient, who is omnipotent and who is omnipresent. Das Dasantan Baitinipaya. He realizes the Almighty because of his nature to treat himself as a slave of the slaves of the God. Those people who are devotees of God who go there, a person who is a true devotee will always regard himself as a selfless server. He will become a selfless server of those devotees of the Almighty who go to the Almighty and who seek Almighty. That kind of a person, that kind of an elevated soul always regards himself also to be the dust feet of those people who are in association of the name of God, who associate themselves with saint and who are devotees themselves. Sada nikti nikti harjan, so das darke paravan. He who believes that the Almighty is present, he is omnipresent and is always close to him, such a person is accepted. His presence is ratified in the Lord Almighty's court. अपने दास को आप कृपा करे तिस दास को सब सोजी परे. The Almighty himself confers on the devotee, on his servant, such kind of a knowledge, such kind of a thinking, that this kind of a devotee who regards himself as the servant of the Almighty, who regards himself as the servant of the servants of the Almighty, then he is blessed with all kinds of divine knowledge which make him acquire salvation. Sagal Sang Atam Udas, Aisi Jukti Nanak Ramdas, he who resides with all and yet remains detached from all men. A person who stays in the dirty pond where the lotus flower is there. Alright. कीचड़ विच कमल जिस तरह उगदा है, ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀ ਅਵਸਥਾ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਇੱਕ ਭਗਤ ਦੀ. ਭਗਤ ਬੰਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਦੇ ਭੈੜੇ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਦੇ ਕਲਯੁਗ ਦੇ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਦੇ ਬੁਰਾਈਆਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਚੰਗਾ ਬਣ ਕੇ ਰਹਿ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ. A person who remains detached, who is within the material world but remains detached from the materiality, that kind of a person becomes the true servant of the Almighty, and in him resides the name of God. So ਸਿੱਖੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਸੌਖੀ ਵੀ ਹੈ ਜੇਕਰ ਸਿਧਾਂਤ ਅਸੀਂ ਫੋਲੋ ਕਰਨੇ ਆ, ਜੇਕਰ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਦੀ ਸੰਸਕ੍ਰਿਤੀ ਦੇ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਦੀ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਫੋਲੋ ਕਰਨੇ ਆ, ਉਹ ਅਸੀਂ ਬੜੀ ਸਰਲ ਹੈਗੀ, ਕਹਿਣ ਨੂੰ ਬੜੀ ਸਰਲ ਹੈਗੀ, ਪਰ ਬੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਸ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਕਲਯੁਗ ਦੀ ਮਾਇਆ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਔਖੀ ਕਿਉਂ ਲੱਗਦੀ ਹੈ? ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਸੌਖੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਅਪਣਾਉਣਾ ਸੌਖਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਤਾਂ ਕਰਕੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਆਖਣ ਔਖਾ ਸਾਚਾ ਨਾ ਹੋ, ਸਾਚੇ ਨਾਮ ਕੀ ਲਾਗੇ ਭੁੱਖ ਉਦ ਭੁੱਖ ਹੈ ਕਹਿ ਚਲੀਏ ਦੁੱਖ. ਸਾਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਔਖਾ ਨਾਮ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਸੌਖਾ ਬਣਾਉਣਾ, ਅਸੀਂ ਸੌਖਾ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਬਣਾਉਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ? ਇਹ ਸੌਖੀ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ, ਵਾਈ ਵੀ ਹੈਵ ਟੂ ਮੇਕ ਦ ਨੇਮ ਵਿਚ ਇਜ਼ ਅਦਰਵਾਈਜ਼ ਡਿਫਿਕਲਟ ਟੂ ਚੈਂਟ, no sorry, difficult to practice, the difficult to put in implementation is by way of encouraging ourselves to adhere to principles, that if we are staying in a material world, it doesn't mean that the material world should affect us and make us also bad. We have to stay detached from the material world and go on doing our duties. प्रभ की आज्ञा आत्म हितावे जीवन मुक्त सो कहावे. परमेश्वर का बाणा मनना, meaning accept the will of God. जिसकी बस्तिस आगे राखे प्रभ की आज्ञा माने माथे उसते चौगन करने हाल नानक साहिब सदा दयाल. A person who remains fulfilled and happy in the will of the Almighty, he alone attains the Almighty. Prabh ki agya atam hitave. He who obeys in his heart with pleasure the will of the Almighty. ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਬਾਣਾ ਮੰਨਣਾ, ਗੁਰੂ ਦਾ ਬਾਣਾ ਮੰਨਣਾ. The will of the Almighty has to be accepted. Jivan mukta so kahave. And once you attain that, once you say that yes, I have accepted, jiski bastis aage rakhe. What have I got? What had I got that I had to take away? Once you attain that kind of an attitude, automatically you are blessed manifold by the Almighty Himself. तैसा अरख तैसा उत्सुक सदा अनंत नहीं वियोग. A person stays stoic, whether it is grief, he is the same. Whether it is a matter of joy, he is the same. And in this ups and downs of joy and sadness, he never stays separated from the Almighty. तैसा सुवर्ण तैसी उस माटी, तैसा अमृत तैसी बिखाटी. For him, gold and mud, स्वर्ण, माटी, both are alike. And for him, Amrit, anything sweet or anything bitter, all are alike for him. Taisa maan, taisa abmaan, taisa rang, taisa rajan. For him, honor and disgrace, both are alike for him. He accepts the will of God in everything. And for him, a king and a pauper, both are same, both are equal, and both are as friendly to him as the Almighty is. जो वर्ताए साई जुक्ति नानक ओ पुरख कहिए जीवन मुक्ति. Whatever God does is the best way. That is what he says. That is what he accepts. It is the will of God. Whatever God does is the best. Is the best for the society. Is the best way of bringing in natural ecology in every aspect of happening in the world. जो वर्ताए साई जुक्ति नानक ओ परख कहिए जीवन मुक्ति. And such a person becomes mukat. He remains immune. He remains stoic in all kinds of circumstances. So he doesn't require an actual mukti. While he is alive, he is mukt himself. He is attained salvation himself. पार ब्रह्म के सगले ठाव जित जित कर राखे तैसा तिन्नाव. In all places, the entire creation and in all the bodies, such a person sees the Supreme Being, which is a fact. God himself, जब आकार एक कृष्ण दृष्टेता पाप पुण्य तप कहते होता. सुखमणि साहिब विच आंदा है. When nothing was there, only he was there. And with his Shakti, with his Maya, with his power, with his cosmic creative force, the Almighty produced everything. So in all and everything, there exists the Almighty. Sab Gobind hai, sab Gobind hai. पार ब्रह्म के सगले ठाव जित जित कर राखे तैसा नृनाव. जित जित कर राखे तैसा तिन्नाव. The creatures, the creation of the Almighty is called by various names, by various places, by various forms. आपे करण करावण जोग प्रभ भावे सोई पुनि होगे. The Lord Almighty Himself is the cause and the effect. कारण करण करीम कृपा तार रहीम. He is the source, He is the power, which is not only the ends, He is also the means. He is the cause and effect. He is the starting point of everything and the end of everything. In Urdu we say, तेरे ही नाम से हर इब्तिदा है, तेरे ही नाम से हर इंतहा है. And whatever God does, प्रभ भावे सोई पुनि होगे. And whatever God does, it must happen. And whatever He does as per His own wish. And in that we shall all take pleasure and we shall all accept it. पसर्यो आप होए अनंत रंग, लखे न जाए पार ब्रह्म के रंग. The Lord Almighty prevails in all the forms. He prevails in the waves. He prevails in tarang. Tarang meaning waves of everything. Waves of nature, waves of wind, waves of the sea, waves of the rains, waves of events. पसरो आप होए अनंत रंग. पसरो मनंग पसारना, देखना. Making himself feel present. लखे न जाए पार ब्रह्म के रंग. The Leela, the plays, the Bachitra Natak. Now, I'm not talking about the Dasham Grath's Bachitra Natak. I'm talking about the drama, the life's drama. Though Bachitra Natak of Guru Gobind Singh also is a phase of the drama in which Guru Gobind Singh Ji as Dushdaman describes us to about what had happened in his past birth. Lakhe na jaye par brahm ke rang. You cannot describe and you cannot ascribe and you cannot even elucidate in great detail about how deep and how well the stage drama of this world has been played by God. How He is doing it. मैं हूँ परम पुरख को दासा, देखण आयो जगत तमाशा. This is what Guru Gobind Singh Ji says in the Dasham Granth. That he is the servant of God and he has come here and he is seeing all the plays of God. Lakhe na jaye par brahm ke rang. जैसी मध्य तैसा प्रकाश, पार ब्रह्म करता अविनाश. इन बेनती चौपाई विषय आप अपनी बुद्ध है जेती बर्ण ब्रह्मण तू है तेती. जैसी मध्य तैसा प्रकाश. The way a person has reaped his karma is the way he thinks. In astrology, in the 5th house, we analyze it and we come to know about the past birth karmas. The positioning of the planets take us to the logical conclusion of what the past birth karmas of the person could have been, due to which he would perform in this birth in some way or the other. Similarly, when a person behaves, even if he doesn't look at the birth chart, you come to know what his past birth karmas could have been that he is behaving in such a manner. A spiritualist would come to know about it. Light dawns according to the understanding given by the Almighty, and that understanding is a result of the karmas. A person may call God in several names depending on his karmas, depending upon how well he has been built up in his bonding with God. Karmi apo apni ke nede ke dur. And depending on that, the soch, the thinking of the person develops. जैसी मत दे तैसा प्रकाश, पार ब्रह्म करता विनाश. Par Brahm Karta Binas means the Supreme Being, the Lord Almighty Himself, is the doer and creator. And He is Abhinas. He is not born, so the question of death doesn't arise. Abhinas, Binas means destruction. Abhinas meaning one who cannot be destroyed. Sada 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 Dayal, Simr Simr Nanak Bahe Nihal. The Lord Almighty is ever, ever and ever merciful. The Lord Almighty is ever Haman. And by contemplating the name of God, the Bhagat, like Guru Nanak himself, gets supreme joy. Vaheguru Ji ka khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki fateh. With this we end the 9th octet and the 9th Ashtpadi of Sukhmani Sahib. Once again saying Vaheguru Ji ka khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki fateh.